Hello and welcome to Tuesday's Record Sport Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Caw and I'm delighted to be joined by Record Sport's Scott McDermott. Scott, how's it going?
I'm okay, Daniel. I'm all right. It's my first day back after a week off. Has anything been happening? No, much been
It's been pretty quiet, to be honest.
a few days. Aye.
Keith's been off, so that's a bonus.
Oh, I trust him to take a week off just when it all hots up. New Rangers manager and all that.
More holidays than Judith Chalmers.
Exactly. I was thinking today though, the amount of words I've written and words I've spoken on here about Philippe Clement and Rangers, and yet, because I was off last week, I never thought that Clement's demise would happen when I'd be sitting at Carlisle v Gillingham on a stag do for a 0-0 draw. So it was a bit surreal watching that scoreline coming in for Ibrox. So I think I knew the game was up.
Gianni, friend of the show, says, "Where is Mr. Jackson? What's going on?" Craigie quite rightly says he's on his holidays. He's in Alicante, so hope he's having a lovely time.
Listen, to be fair to him, he get the big exclusive, didn't he, about the
of course.
So listen, I think he for once he deserves his wee break.
Aye, no, that was class last week. You've mentioned obviously though the demise of Philippe Clement has been a big talking point, and Barry Ferguson arriving. We've got a clip of his press conference from today. Before we do that though, what's your take on it, Scott?
Listen, I'm surprised it's Barry Ferguson because I think when the club made the decision and then decided, right, they were going to go and get an interim manager, and clearly they obviously decided they wanted a kind of Rangers man, for want of a better expression, in the role until the end of the season. I think even Barry would admit, there's probably guys out there, even ex-players, who are probably better qualified in terms of coaching or managerial experience. So from that point of view, I probably was quite surprised when we heard it was happening. However, once they decided to go down that route as an interim, I don't know, I mean, does it really matter that much who's in charge? I mean, let's be honest, domestically, they've got 12, 13 dead rubber games. No, they're not going to get, I don't think they're going to get beaten for second place. Of course, they want to win. I mean, they need to start winning again after the last couple of results at Ibrox. But I think Barry, what he has got going from, as I say, he's a born winner. He's a born leader. He knows that club like the back of his hand. He knows what it likes to lead in there as a captain. He knows what it's like to win. I think by getting somebody like Neil McCann and beside him, just from a coaching perspective, everything I hear about Neil McCann is that he's very good on the training pitch. We obviously listen to him as a pundit, and he certainly talks a good game. He knows the game inside out. So I think that could work quite well. I mean, we spoke just before we came on about how Barry will work it, and I know he's talked in the last 24 hours about getting on the training pitch and seen some pictures of him today, but I would expect him almost to let Neil McCann and Billy Dodds do most of the coaching and take a kind of step back, if you like, and have a proper look at these players. Similarly, actually, to the way Steven Gerrard probably did it. I mean, Gerrard, when he was there, was seen as very much the figurehead who stepped in when he felt he had to step in, and obviously came into his own, I think, on match days and in the dressing room. Whereas other guys at that time, like Michael Beale and Tom Culshaw and people like that, did most of the coaching. I don't know, but I think that Barry might take a kind of similar approach, knowing he's got guys like Neil McCann and that there. So for that point of view, I think he might do okay. The big thing for me, Daniel, is these players at Rangers, because any manager is only good as the effort his players are willing to put in. And I've written so many, it feels like I've written so many pieces and spoke so much about this group of players. And I know it's evolved and changed the last 2, 3, 4 years, but I think this group of players have proven that they can be mentally weak when it comes to winning games and seeing it titles and cup finals and whatever. And I think from the outside, there's a feeling, certainly among Rangers fans, that a few of them need a kind of rocket and a kick up the backside. And I'm sure Barry Ferguson 100% has got that in him, as has Neil McCann and Alan McGregor and Billy Dodds. Of course they have. But my question would be, how do these players react to that? For people I've spoken to who are kind of in and around or have been the last few years, I just don't think this group of players, I don't think it's in their makeup to react well to that. And I think he spoke today about how he's going to need to suss people out and realise who needs an arm round the shoulder, who needs a kind of rocket or a kind of shuriken. But I mean, you think of it, that Queen's Park game and the home game against Man the weekend that ultimately got Clement the sack. I mean, these players turn up when they want to turn up, and it's just not good enough. And I think that'll be the biggest challenge for Barry Ferguson, because he knows himself he's probably only going to be in there until the summer. So do you get a group of players who just think, well, look, you're not going to be the manager come the start of next season, so I don't need to try a leg here. I've got a 2, 3, 4 year contract. If that's their attitude and that's their approach, he's going to struggle, as any interim manager would. But the big challenge from them is to get a tune out of them and somehow get them going again and somehow gain their respect and get them running, and tackling and shooting and playing forward. If he can do that in the next few weeks, then listen, it could go better than most people probably expect.
Aye. Well, look, let's hear what the Rangers interim manager had to say during his press conference today.
Barry, welcome. Obviously, just bring us up to speed with what I'm sure has been a pretty busy 48 hours or so for you.
Yeah, it's obviously been hectic, but also it's been enjoyable. Surprised that I obviously got the call on Sunday, but it only took 5 minutes to agree to become the interim manager until the end of the season. Then it was a case of me trying to get my staff together, which thankfully took only about 10 or 12 hours, because I was worried in case it would drag on a wee bit, but thankfully it wasn't the case, and I got the 3 guys that I wanted to come in.
Can you tell us a bit about, obviously, all these 3 guys are known, working alongside Sam as well, but why for you did you want those 3 as your first choice?
There's a number of reasons, if I'm being honest with you. Both Neil and Billy have obviously got experience as being managers at a good level. We've obviously, alongside Alan, played with the club. We obviously know the demands and the expectations, so that was important to me as well. We came in last night, I'll be brutally honest, we came in about 4:30. Me and the coaching staff, we sat down for about 4 or 5 hours. We had to go through a lot of things, so we were ready and prepared for the boys coming in this morning. I'm not filtering with too much information because I think it's too short notice, but they totally understand what way we're going to go against a very good commander team and against a very good experienced manager.
What do you think are going to be your biggest challenges over the next few months?
There's going to be a number of challenges, but what I've been brought in to do is start winning games of football as quickly as possible, and that needs to start tomorrow night at Rugby Park.
Is James going to remain the skipper?
Yep.
What was your thinking behind that?
I don't think there was any need to change. I actually had a good chat with James last night. He came in while we were in, obviously getting to know some of the staff and getting to know the surroundings as well. I've not been here plenty of times, but there's been a few changes, so it was good to get a good sit down with him, spoke to him, and I looked him in the eyes, and I have no doubt that he will give me 100% to lead this club until the end of the season.
You know your appointment has raised a few eyebrows, and you know that there's some people who don't think that you have the managerial experience for a job of this magnitude. What would your response be to that?
Judge me at the end of the 3 months. I have no issue with that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. One thing you will get from me as my staff, I'm coming in here, and this is no, I'm not taking this lightly, I'm taking it seriously. and that will start tomorrow night. So I would rather be judged come the end of the season, but also know I'm going to be judged game to game. This is just the nature of the beast when you're at Glasgow Rangers.
You won't be surprised, Scott, here we've had a lot of comments on Barry Ferguson's appointment. Craigie says Baz will do well in his 3 months and be kept on under Steven Gerrard. That's some prediction. Plenty of other comments as well. I mean, none of them, to be honest. Well, in fact, Willie Mercer. They all knew and embraced the demands of playing for Rangers and understood the honour it was to represent the club at any level of capacity, and who demanded of everyone around them the same drive and commitment for success. As Rangers supporters, we've seen an erosion of standards on and off the park and feel that having the people of that ilk, the club structure will raise the standards to the heights and demanded and expected. That obviously is a positive one, but Philip Borland counters it with saying, what a terrible decision putting ex-players in to manage the team for the rest of the season. Not one of them has a clue about management. This is just the board trying to keep fans, and some of them are falling for it already. Nothing is going to change at Rangers until they get rid of the first team. But the trouble is, no one would want to buy any of our players. So,
look,
mixed response.
Yeah, see from a financial point of view, Daniel, Rangers were never going to go out and get another kind of top level elite manager just to see them through at the end of the season. I mean, that was just never going to happen. It was always going to be this type of appointment. As I said earlier, there probably are guys out there better qualified in terms of coaching or management than Barry Ferguson, but you certainly can't. You can't say he doesn't know the club or know what it's like to win there. And one of the previous callers is right about standards being eroded. I've said many times on here, well, this is a club now, or certainly a group of players that have got too used to being second best and accepting mediocrity, accepting being second in this city. And whatever you might think of them, as people, as players, Barry Ferguson, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds, Alan McGregor, they would never have accepted that at Rangers. They'd never accepted it at any club they were at, because that's their character and their personality. So the board, rightly or wrongly, have made this decision, and clearly that's what they try and want to instill into the dressing room over the next 2 or 3 months. Whether it will happen, as I've touched on earlier, and how these players will react to that kind of approach and people try to put these demands on them, I'm not sure, because I think there are big question marks over these players. But I think Barry spoke really well in his press conference, and it's probably what a lot of people wouldn't give him credit for. I actually thought he was quite articulate. He actually had a bit of the Gerrard about him, the way he spoke. It's a very simple, clear, direct messaging. I like the fact he's talking about no filling the players' heads with too much information, because he's not got a great deal of time, obviously, with the Kilmarnock game tomorrow night. He's got another game Saturday, and then he's straight into a massive Europa League game. So it's probably right that they just try and get back to basics. I like the fact that he's spoken to James Tavernier face-to-face already. Of course, it would have crossed his mind about changing the captaincy. I think that's only natural when you come into a club, when you want to kind of make an impact, especially when things haven't gone well. But he's obviously had that conversation and feels that Tavernier's in the right frame of mind to go and do that job to the end of the season. And also, I mean, you think of someone like Jack Butland. Jack Butland, I'm pretty sure, was a teammate of Barry Ferguson at Birmingham back in the day, and would have seen him lead a dressing room back when Alec McLeish was in charge, or around that time at Birmingham. So Butland will even know a bit about Ferguson's character and what he's all about, and I think that will probably help. It's going to be really interesting to see. I know he's only had 24 hours with the players, but he says you'll see a difference in the Kilmarnock game tomorrow night. It's going to be really interesting to see how that looks, whether that's in terms of shape, formation, the style of play. The thing that I've constantly criticised this team for, a lack of urgency, a lack of aggression. a lack of tempo. Whether you see that right away at Rugby Park, I think you should, by the way, because whoever's in charge, when you go to play Kilmarnock away, I think you need that to go and win. So it's going to be really interesting to see what team he picks and how they shape up against Kelly.
We're about to be joined by Fraser Wilson from Celtic Park, but before we do that, Gary says the big difference between talking well, getting these players to play better. Big Philippe spoke well to start off with, then had a nightmare. Marzuno says, good luck with that squad. Celtic would take Czerny is back up to Kuhn. That's it. Scott, I saw one bookmaker today has Ferguson at 25-1 to be the next permanent Rangers manager. Now, say they won 11 out of the 13 games, 12 out of the 13 games. Do you think there's any chance that could happen?
I think there's a chance, Daniel, because football is mental. We know that, and crazy things happen when you don't expect them to. I mean, sitting here right now, is it likely? No, probably not. Of course, you've got everything going on in the background just now with a potential takeover, new investment coming in. If that goes through, then obviously, the new guys will want to appoint a manager of their own. Patrick Stewart's already said there'll be a new sporting director coming in. You would think, what normally happens is the sporting director will come in and have a massive influence on who the next manager is. But what Barry Ferguson's got is a crack at it. He's got an opportunity, and as you say, if he starts to put together a run of results, if he could get through to the next stage in Europe, if he could win an Old Firm game, a positive result at Celtic Park, even though we accept that the league is gone, but if he could go and get positive results, positive performances in those games, listen, he gives himself a chance, and that'll be at the back of his head. I know he spoke today, but he's not thinking any further ahead than Rugby Park. Of course he's going to say that, but knowing the type of guy he is, the type of character, he will be thinking, if I can turn this round, if I can make an impact and get a tune out of these players, whether he's there as manager next year or whether, as one of the callers mentioned earlier on, whether he could potentially be part of the new Rangers management team coming in, who knows? I think he would certainly want that. And as I say, it's unlikely at the moment, but he's given himself a crack at it.
Whatever happens, it won't be boring, that's for sure. We're joined now by Fraser Wilson from Celtic Park. Fraser, how's it going?
Evening, chaps. How are you?
How's the weather?
Mate, I was just going to say, I was going to join you for those picnic tables like I did a couple of weeks ago. They're outside. Thank God I didn't, because it's just started absolutely chucking it down.
Wow.
I don't know if that's what sprung the disco lights on there as well, but I tell you, it's absolutely horsing it down here. Which bodes well for a good night.
I was going to say, look, it could be a cracker. I mean, Aberdeen appear to have turned the corner. I don't know if it's too early to say that. Was it 3 wins in a row for Aberdeen?
Competitions, look, if it's even a fraction of the entertainment that was on show the last time the two met here, I was here, I think it was back in October, that 2-2 game, if it's even half or a quarter of that, we're in for a good night, because that game had everything, including, I think, 13 minutes of injury time. Certainly don't want that tonight, not this 8 o'clock kick-off time. But the Aberdeen were riding the crest of the wave at that moment, weren't they? They were right edging towards that. Was it 13 games, 13 wins and 12 wins and a draw? That was a 1 draw in the run. So they were riding the crest of the wave, as I said, at that point. Obviously then, as streaky as the season's been for them, they went on that 14-game winless run in the league. But as you say, they've now got 2 back-to-back league wins together to put together with that Dunfermline Scottish Cup win. So yeah, 3 wins. I don't know if performances have really filled the fans with hope that they have turned a corner, but it's all about results. And I don't think they'll be judged on the result here at Celtic Park tonight. That 2-2 game took one hell of a heroic defensive effort, especially for those 13 minutes injury time. It was bodies on the line. It was defend like your life depends on it stuff, which, is to be commended. That's all part of the game. But I think tonight is going to take a wee bit more than that if they're to get anything out of this. Celtic obviously looking to bounce back for a shock defeat at the weekend, and it's not often again, I was here the last time they lost 2 Premiership games in a row to away to Kilmarnock and home to Hearts back in December 2023. So I'd be amazed if that was to happen again tonight. What was the start I was looking at? I think it's 28 games now since Aberdeen last beat Celtic. And Andy Considine winner out there in
The last day of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that secured 3rd place for them. So tall order facing the Dons, but as you say, there's a wee upturning form there to give the fans hope.
Chris Fraser. Sorry, go on.
Fraser, how do you think Aberdeen approach it then? I mean, they get a lot of praise at each game for the way they attack Celtic, and went for them and played in the counter, but really went for the throat and got the 2 goals. But I suppose the question of how much is confidence. I know they've won the last 2 or 3, but how much has the confidence been eroded in that long winless spell? Can they still go to Celtic Park with that attitude, or are you expecting a bit more defensive tonight?
I think Jimmy Tillin is a very clear way of playing, and that is his way of playing. A big thing is the starting 11's changed a lot since that game 4 months ago, or whenever it was. That the back line, I know Nicky Devlin's out injured, but they've got Alexander Jensen in, who's doing brilliantly at fullback. Big Mats, is it Mats Nuster beside, I'm struggling with my foreign names here now, but Christoph Tovers. It's a very, very multinational looking lineup for Aberdeen. Graham Shinney's kind of sitting on the bench now. Kevin Nisbet's in and out. You might see a starting 11 that doesn't have a single Scot in it, which always worries me in terms of identity of a team. But I think Jimmy Tillin definitely is a way of playing. I don't think it'll change too much for that last game here. They'll look to get in Celtic's faces. It might be that kind of middle block, as the hipsters like to call it. Who starts up front could be interesting, because again they've got the new boy Odi Daba that's come in and produced that brilliant last minute winner against Kilmarnock at the weekend. So it's incredible actually how different the Aberdeen starting 11 could look tonight to that, in comparison to that 2-2 draw back in October.
Aye, that's a fair point. Marzuno says he wouldn't be surprised to see a couple more slip-ups from Celtic. At the end of the day, the league's won. The players are only human. I wanted to get both your guys' take on the Greg Taylor situation, because I think it's really intriguing. He was left out for the Bayern Munich game, massive game. Jeffrey Schlupp come in, back in for the weekend against Hibs. So, Fraser, who is the first choice left back?
Well, Brendan Rodgers couldn't have been clearer on this. Repeatedly being asked, including by myself, if Greg Taylor's situation is moving towards a conclusion. He wants him to stay. There's no doubt. He wants 2 quality left backs next season. They say themselves there's room for 2 quality left backs, Kieran Tierney and Greg Taylor, at Celtic Park next season. He'll need them both. If it's a 50-60 game season, they'll both get plenty of football. He wants them here. I think the fact Jeffrey Schlupp started in Munich shows that he's a quality left back as well. So I don't know. I wasn't at the game at the weekend. Only saw the highlights. Am I right in saying Taylor was hooked at half time?
He came off, aye, that's right.
Came out, so it maybe wasn't his best 45 minutes. It'll be interesting to see who starts here tonight. I would maybe fancy Schlupp back in with the old rotation going on. But to answer your question, Brendan Rodgers wants 2 quality left backs, and he wants Greg Taylor to be one of them next season.
And I think, Daniel, I think Greg Taylor's in a really difficult position, and I think it's probably affecting his performances, if I'm being honest. No, it's a dilemma for him, because in his heart of hearts, I think Greg Taylor wants to stay at Celtic. No, he's been there 5 years. I think it's 5 years, had loads of success, established himself as the first choice left back, domestically and in Europe. I don't think Greg Taylor would want anything to change, but he's known for a long time now, getting into the last year of his contract, that Kieran Tierney will be coming back to the club, and he'll be coming back to the club pretty much as first choice left back. And I think, understandably, Greg Taylor's thinking to himself, after 5 years, I don't want to play second fiddle to anyone. No, I want to be first choice, whether it's at Celtic or elsewhere. He's obviously got offers on the table from abroad, which will be tempting for him. The other thing he'll be thinking about in his head is, I think, this is just my opinion, he'll be thinking to himself, although Kieran Tierney's coming in, he's obviously had injury problems, Tierney. So, if that was to happen again, he could end up being the first choice again. Greg Taylor, Brendan Rodgers might need to rely on him. If, no, God forbid, you don't want anything to happen to Kieran Tierney, but if it did and he struggled with injury again, then obviously Taylor would come to the fore. So I think it's been a real tough few months for Greg Taylor since they kind of started negotiating, since there's now a lot of interest in him and different offers on the table. I think there'll be a lot going on in his head, a lot of stuff to weigh up, and I think it might be affecting his performance. It didn't surprise me when he got left out in Munich for Schlupp. I thought Brendan Rodgers would try something different in the previous game, and he did well against Bayern. And again at the weekend, as you say, Taylor didn't have the best game, and he comes off it at half time. It's a bit of an issue, and it's a problem, and I don't quite know at the moment how it's going to be resolved. But my gut feeling is that he won't be at Celtic next season, because I think as I say, the thought of being playing second fiddle to another Celtic left back, especially when it's a Scotland teammate of his, and probably good pals with Kieran Tierney as well. I think that'd be tough for Greg Taylor, and as I say, he's got a few decent offers which will be tempting him at the moment.
Not to be too cynical, Fraser, but if he was going to stay, if he was going to sign a new contract, surely they've done it by now.
Well, that's what I was going to say if you'd asked me the same question as Scott there. That's why I, like Scott, have a suspicion he won't be here any longer after the summer. Look, you can never say never. Maybe he really, really is 50-50 on it and wanting to get the season out of the way. He knows another treble to be had. Maybe he wants to leave it until he's, in his eyes, lifted the Scottish Cup in May. But no, I just have a sneaky suspicion, like Scott, that it would have been done by now. This has been rumbling on all season, hasn't it? It seems to be going on forever. Yeah. Celtic have made it clear. I don't know what terms have been offered to him, but whatever it is, it's not been enough to convince him yet, which makes me think, no, it makes me think he'll be off in the summer. And as Scott says, he's got good offers elsewhere. He's coming to what should be the prime of his career. He'll maybe want to get more Scotland caps under his belt as well, and that would mean regular football at the weekends. So there's an awful lot to weigh up, and if push came to shove, I think he'll maybe be off in the summer.
The other thing is, Daniel, from Celtic's point of view, if they see Tierney as first choice left back, which they will do, and we know that the salary Tierney's on at Arsenal, and they're getting him on a free transfer, so you can imagine the kind of numbers you'll be talking to get Kieran Tierney back to Celtic. They can't then go and offer Greg Taylor a big bumper deal as well to be second choice left back. So I'm sure in terms of the negotiations, if they were able to do that, he might have signed already. Now we don't know the figures, but if he's getting offered a deal that is kind of a reflection of being the kind of backup left back, you can understand Taylor's thinking that he might be reluctant to commit to that for the reasons that we've spoke about.
Aye. The other selection headache, and I get we're obviously waiting in the team news. I'm asking you, how long is a piece of string? But Fraser, Maeda, Ida and Kuhn started at the weekend. Jota come off the bench. Do you think he'll start tonight, Jota? And
I am gutted, Daniel, because I remember I stood here 20 days ago before the Dundee game, and for the first time in my life was able to say, I can bring you the breaking team news. I was hoping to do the same again tonight, but I can't because it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. So that's 15 minutes away. To answer your question, because I thought you'd ask that, I think we'll see Maeda back through the middle. Again, I wasn't at the game on Saturday. I was at Ibrox. I only saw the highlights, but I saw again Adam Idah got replaced at half-time. I think Brendan Rodgers is looking to rotate for the rest of the season, but I think this huge pitch here at Parkhead would suit Dyson Maeda through the middle. The gaps in behind Aberdeen, if Aberdeen are tempted to play quite a high line, I think his pace could be a key thing for Celtic tonight. I think, again, he referred to rotating Jota or getting Jota minutes and building him up to being a starting player. So if he sat out at the weekend, I could quite imagine Jota coming in to start tonight. And I think Nicholas Kuhn's an automatic start on the right-hand side. So that would be my front three tonight, I think. Jota on the left, Kuhn on the right, and Dyson Maeda. The goals galore, Dyson Maeda right through the middle.
Aye. Well, Marzuno chimes in saying Jota Maeda Kuhn 100%. But to be fair, Scott, Adam Idah, 5 goals in his last 8 games. he has started to, a bit of form.
He did, but I agree with Fraser and Marzuno. I think Rogers will revert back to Maida through the middle tonight. I don't know. I think just coming off the back of defeat the weekend, he'll see this as a big game. He'll know that Aberdeen obviously caused him a few problems the last time, even though it was a while ago. And I think he'll almost kind of revert back to what we probably see the strongest Celtic team now. No, because Hatate didn't start at the weekend either, did he? I'd expect him to come back in. I'd expect Jota to come in, Schlupp probably at left back. He'll certainly rotate again. And as I say, I just think he'll look at this game tonight. It's quite important coming off the back of Saturday. He'll want to get a really strong result, strong performance. And as I say, I agree with Fraser. I just think on the big pitch at Parkhead, under the lights, he'll want that front three of Jota, Maida and Kuhn. It's pretty scary for opposition defenders at the minute. I think they want to start the game really well, really quick. So I'd expect those three to start. I'd be surprised if they aren't.
I think Kyogo always caused Aberdeen problems, especially this season. And I would made us more a Kyogo through the middle than Big Ida is, isn't he? Again, I think he'll be looking for that kind of burst of pace.
How do you think it will go, Fraser? What's your prediction for tonight? Do you think Aberdeen can get something?
They can. I mean, they've proved it already this season. They can. I don't think they will, but they can. But so in saying that, this could be one. This could be anything. I didn't think they'd lose 6-0 at Hampden shortly after drawing 2-2 here. I don't know. Maybe Celtic. Celtic have had their focus realigned with that defeat at the weekend. Maybe there's a 3-goal victory for them tonight. I don't mean that as disrespect to Aberdeen. I just think this is a really tall order for Aberdeen tonight. If they can get to half-time level, then maybe I would think again. But nah, a 3-goal Celtic win, 3-0 maybe.
I think in a weird way, losing at the weekend against Hibs will kind of hurt Aberdeen more. Celtic will be more fired up for it.
I agree with that, Daniel. I agree. I loved how Fraz started that with a bit of optimism for Aberdeen. And
a lot of Aberdeen pals, they need to watch what I'm saying.
And basically said they're going to get scudded 3-0.
Big Mal's sat next to me here as well, so I really need to watch what I'm saying.
I agree. I think Celtic will respond after the weekend. As I say, I think those changes, if Brendan Rodgers makes them, will make them stronger. I think they'll start fast. And I know Aberdeen have kind of recovered and have put together a couple of decent results. I don't think they're at the level they were, just in terms of confidence and momentum. The last time they went to Celtic Park for that game that we're talking about. So I would expect Celtic to win by at least a couple of goals. And really, it just depends. I mean, if Jota and Maida really fancy it, for instance, and Kuhn, it could get messy for Aberdeen if Celtic are on it. If Celtic at home, obviously they had a slip up at the weekend, but the last few home games they've been really strong, scoring goals. So I kind of fear the worst for Aberdeen, I must admit.
I heard their mix say in the press conference yesterday to Brendan Rodgers that Aberdeen game's the only goals they've conceded here at Celtic Park in the Premiership this season. So tonight, that's incredible. That's incredible. Tonight, I also read that if they keep a clean sheet tonight, that's 10, a record 10 in a row, home clean sheets in a row. It's extraordinary stuff. So, they're lighting up top, they're rock solid at the back. It's such a tall order for Aberdeen tonight. I'll
tell you the other thing, but we're talking about the front three, Daniel, and those forward players. I mean, I've done a lot of games at Celtic Park this season, and I don't know the stats, but the amount of goals they get from midfielders, whether it be McGregor or Engels, Luke McCowan chipping in or Hatate chipping in, when you kind of compare it to Rangers, Rangers don't get that at all. Do you know what I mean? And I know there's lots of differences, but that's one of the main ones why Celtic are so far in front. I mean, aside for that threat they've got for their attacking players, when you're getting your sitting midfielder and Callum McGregor, hitting 8, 9, 10 goals a season, as well as these other boys chipping in. Bernardo's another one when he's fit, always chips in with goals, especially at Celtic Park. they've just got so many threats all over the pitch, and that's, as I say, that's partly why, as Fraser touched on, that home record is so good.
One of the comments there saying Falkirk was probably the most impressive away performance at Celtic Park this season. They were great that day.
They were
Hard to disagree with that. Absolutely. Aberdeen's was different. Aberdeen's was against a full strength Celtic team, but look, Falkirk were amazing for 70 minutes that day. Marzuno's getting a lot of comments up.
He's getting a lot of airtime tonight, actually. I know, I realised that.
He's no wrong. He's no wrong with many of them, to be fair.
He's making too many salient points. If you could stop that, Marzuno, it would be much appreciated. Fraser, I know you'll have pre-match duties to get on with, so we'll let you go. But we hope it's an absolute cracker for you.
Right, okay, lads. Good to see you.
Cheers, Fraser.
See you later.
And Scott, before we wrap up, give us a score. Your score lines are always actually quite on point.
I know it's quite boring, but I think I'm going to go for 3-0 Celtic. As we touched on there, it's hard to see. I agree with you, Daniel. I think that result at Easter Road's probably killed any chance Aberdeen had of getting something, right? Because Rodgers wasn't happy, obviously, at the weekend with the decision against them. With they felt they should have got the equaliser. So there'll be that wee bit of injustice kind of brewing away as well in the dressing room. I think they'll be dying to get back out. As I say, the boys that they're going to bring in, if it is Jota, Hatate, even Schlupp, as I say, I think it'll make them stronger tonight. And I just don't know if Aberdeen will be able to live with them. No, as we touched on, this Aberdeen team, although they've won a couple of games, they're in a totally different place to where they were when they went to Celtic Park that day. And they did brilliantly to come back for 2 down. Second half performance was outstanding.
Probably should have won that day.
I just don't know if they're at that level. Listen, the key thing, as always, for any of these teams going to Celtic Park will be how long can they last at 0-0. Can they weather that early storm, which invariably comes at you on nights like this, if Celtic fancy it and if they're at it. If they can get to half time at 0-0, they give themselves a chance. But the killer is losing an early goal. And if Celtic build up that momentum, as I say, these attacking players, the wingers in particular, if they get going, then it can be a long night for you.
Chris Fraser writes in saying, Daily Record, this is my football fix. Thank you, from Houston, Texas, which, that's nice, Scott, isn't it? That's lovely.
Chris Fraser's looking lovely there, that.
He's looking lovely, eh? And I should say that, all of the updates on tonight's game, you can stay on top of with Record Sport. We'll be back to do this all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Scott, thanks for your company as always.
I'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you then, Daniel.
Can't wait already. Thanks for watching at home. Hope you can join us then. Cheers.